A very good morning to you, Naledi, and to our viewers at home. Of course, this is a landmark case when we look at those applicants that approached the courts just trying to force government to implement an exemption that would see facilities like hospitals, schools and police stations alongside courts and others just exempted from being load-shedded. What has angered them as we speak right now, Naledi, is because we've seen an indication from government, specifically the Public Enterprises Ministry under Minister Pravin Gordhan. They've indicated that they're going to be appealing this process. Of course, the courts on Friday, this being the High Court in Pretoria, are just giving them about 60 days as government to get their house in order and ensure that hospitals, clinics, schools and police stations are exempted from being load-shedded. Of course, this comes from concerns that have been raised by the society as well as alongside labor unions, alongside organizations, political organizations and civil society movements that have said that this forms or constitutes a gross violation of human rights. As we see, the load shedding persists and the heightened levels of load shedding that has shot up to stage 6. We're hearing that it might even be worse, that we had anticipated that the stages might even elevate or be elevated to stage 8 and the likes. So what these organizations are calling for is for an exemption to say that we need to safeguard lives. We need to ensure that criminal activities that are attributed to load shedding are attended to. We need to see that the courts, there's movement within the courts without any hindrances, and they've taken issue with a government that they said is insensitive to the plight of the nation. As we speak right now, we're battling stage 6 of load shedding, and you can imagine what is happening at the facilities and hospitals. We've already heard there, the lady, that hospitals are really operating under immense pressure because as soon as load shedding kicks in, the doctors, the nurses have to more or less, they are faced with a situation of having to choose as to who do they save at that point in time. We have people that are on life support, dependent of course on the electricity and an optimum electricity supply to ensure that they are not hampered and their health is not hampered. So we're coming to you live this morning from the Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital. This is one of the major big hospitals in the country, and I guess this is why Mmusi Maimane, the leader of Build One South Africa, decided that he's coming to this particular hospital here today to address the concerns and the issues pertaining to the government's take or the government's move to challenge that court order. So they're calling on the public as well to try by all means to join them in rejecting government and its attempts here as they try by all means to appeal that process. So we'll be seeing Mmusi Maimane come through here today. The activists from Build One South Africa are already here. They are setting up, and we'll see most of them just welcoming Mmusi Maimane as he ascends to this environment here, Soweto. He'll be also going inside the hospital. We are told to just check the state of affairs in terms of how things are faring and how those medical personnel are really coping with this issue. Of course, at the center of it as well is the economy that really has been battered over time. We are told that the economy losing about 1.5 to 4 billion rand as load shedding really kicks in and persists. So some of these pressures are coming from civil society organizations and political parties alongside organizations and the likes. They're trying to more or less not just cushion their lives in terms of the human rights violations that are citing that they are rampant in this space, but also the economy that has not done well for quite some time. We know very well that jobs are being lost, companies are shutting their doors because they really can't cope with the rolling blackouts that have shot up to stage 6. So we're expecting to see Mmusi Maimane touch down any moment from now, but the activists from BOSA have already set up. They are in song and they are waiting for their leader to address them this morning.
Katlego, I'm quite interested as well just to find out what the turnout is looking like for those that are in support of Mmusi Maimane in this very big discussion around how load shedding is impacting public facilities. What's the turnout looking like?
Well, so far we've just seen, activists from Build One South Africa. They are setting up, they are in their regalia, yellow shirts as we speak right now, and more or less they're trying to call on the community of Soweto. So Chris Hani Baragwanath Hospital is just located just not far, stone throw away from the main bara taxi rank. And as soon as people just go about their day to day, others going into the hospital and trying to get assistance, these activists that are here, they're trying by all means to show them really the severity of where we find ourselves here, because you might actually be approaching this hospital only to find out that inside there's no power to help you in that regard. So we're seeing most of them just gather as we speak right now. The numbers are starting to pick up, they are setting up, but we have a clearer picture of indeed if the numbers are more or less numbering, if you'd like to say, in terms of those that will support Mmusi Maimane and other organizations that have approached the courts in terms of making or forcing government, compelling government to exempt certain apex buildings or apex departments, this being education, this being health and crime, this being the police and the SAPS, including the justice cluster. Naledi?